So just a few words to introduce Nicolas Gilsoul, qui est un architecte et paysagiste, et aussi un naturaliste, un degré en sciences naturelles. Et, parliamo in inglese? Excuse me. Okay. Okay. Allora, I'm very glad to introduce Nicolas Gilsoul. Is a landscape architect, an architect, also a naturalist with a degree in natural science, and is one of the more interesting, we think, designers that who are working on landscape today, putting together different notions, different traditions, the tradition, the heritage of the School of Versailles, but also touching other topics are more related with ecology and with sustainability. I think that tonight he is going to present us some projects, but also his ideas about landscape architecture. Please.
Okay, thank you. You hear something? Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the invitation. So I'm a little bit in a kind of jet lag, probably like you. So there are a lot of images, probably not one scheme, and probably not one master plan. So I hope you're okay with this idea. We live, that starts like a movie, we live at the dawn of a new world. Our children's, your children's actually, will live in hybrid cities. The nature becomes the object of desire. But beside those clichés, nature is dynamic, and probably the most visible of those dynamics is water. So we will actually, those two images are the same. I just get that in my bat trip 10 minutes ago. So you don't need special 3D glasses, it's the same image, but you probably get it. So let's travel together through this new world and try to understand the new strategies and the new alliance between nature, or what we call nature, and urban cities. This image is not a mushroom, it's the Yukon Delta in the Bering Sea, very north of Canada. The permafrost is melting each day and creating new rivers. This is not a piece of art. This is in the Pacific Ocean. It's called Taioyo Belt, means the Pacific Belt. It's a mega city of 105 million people in Japan. In the middle you have Tokyo. We have mega city, resilient mega city during the night, with artificial coast who been attacked in a way by typhoons, by tsunami, and by earthquakes. This is in India or in Bangladesh, just in the middle of the two, because it's the biggest delta in the world. The Gange River and the Brahmaputra River are going there, and 140 million people are living there. But the new climate changes, the erosion of the coast because of agriculture, intense agriculture, create a sunken phenomenon, and all the delta is going down in the sea. 100 105 million kilometers square under the sea level. Calcutta and Dhaka cities. We are more and more than 20 years ago, and we are more exposed. This is in Philippines, a few months ago, maybe before an episode of, I don't know, The Mentalist on the TV, you probably see this. Katrina hurricane cost 200 million of euro. Fukushima, 140 million of euro, and probably change the nuclear position in Japan, and I hope in the world. We are constantly immersed in images with very powerful nature, who push, who destroy, and reinvent our geography. The art and the fictions are feeding our fantasies. We, architects, are feeding the fantasies. In the movies, actually now it's the great thing, the eco-fictions. In the movies we have three different attitudes. The first one, like in this movie, Take Shelter, it's the contagious psychos in America for Black Storm. You probably see Black Storm, the new one, but this one is more intimate. The second attitude, it's this kind of movie, Oblivion. Oblivion invents a new geography, an hybrid urban system landscape based on the nostalgia of Eden. The nature wins, Gaia theory. The third attitude, the beast from South. The movie is in the middle of Mississippi burned by Katrina. Told a completely different story, told that actually only not the brave or not the richer or not the heroes, but those who learn to live with water could survive. Back to architects. Politicians and architects, landscape urbanists, promise today to the cities and to the people who live in the cities the dream of a lost nature. This is in Punggol, in Singapore. Just a small thing. I will present you very quickly 23 projects. On those 23 projects, 17 are real, on the table, signed by a client, and some of them are in process. Okay, so it's not utopic. That's important. I just show you 3 images from the movies. So, this is in Egypt, a new city with rice culture on the Nile River, who could play with the water level. A new hope in Medellin in Colombia, along the river, like Lyon, like Ljubljana, like maybe Milano, soon with the Lambro, and probably soon in London also with this project of open air pool filtered by vegetation in the Thames. In few weeks in Benjin periphery, landscape called the floating gardens, the purity floating gardens or something like that. In few years in Copenhagen city, with this project ordered by the city of Copenhagen for the harbor, a new kind of topography looks like iceberg to create new sports on the harbor and to live with the water differently. Always this object of desire, but also another question, the protection against the water dynamics. So after this very short travel, I tried to understand what kind of strategies build in this project. And actually I found 5 strategies of landscape resilience against the water dynamics. If you found a 6th one, you have my email on my website and please contact me. The first one, so the 5 strategy, very quickly. The first one is the arc. You have a spaceship or a ship and you go out. And the water rain problem is, yeah. You saw that probably very early on the movies with this Noé, absolutely delicious movie. The arc. The second one is the wall, a shield. The third one is the sponge, you absorb. The fourth one, it's you live on sticks, wood sticks, concrete sticks, or topography. And the last one is to divide the strongness or the force of the water by reshape the borders of the river or of the coast. So let's see 2 or 3 projects of all those strategies. The UN told Bangkok could disappear in 2050 underwater. Each year, 2 centimeters, the city is sinking 2 centimeters under the sea level. 12 million people. This project, called Vetropolis, develop a floating city, offshore, ecological one. Filter, solar, wonderful, but probably reserved to few people, few heroes. Green Float. It's the product of the Shimizu Corporation. The Shimizu Corporation, if you don't know that, it's the biggest construction enterprise in Japan. They could build it until 2050 if they recalled enough money. It's an amphibian city, total autonomy, energetic, food supply, production, recycling. And this floating city, 3 kilometers wide, could be connected with other 3 kilometers wide cities, are floating or could colonize Pacific Ocean on the equatorial line where climate conditions are the best one. And if one day a typhoon come, they have 100-meter high steel shield all around who is developing. It's not a project of students. It's a project of the most important construction enterprise in Japan. Okay, let's see what happened in Lagos. You probably know this project. Lagos is the most populated city in Africa. It's the first harbor. It's on the Nigerian coast. And on this city, growing city, lives a suburb. Let's say it's not a suburb, it's a slum. It's probably the most or the biggest slum on water in the world. There are 250,000 people who live there and learn first to swim before walking. I don't tell you the color of the water. Of course. It's called Makoko. Makoko is doomed because the Ministry of Equipment is guided by the Prince of Nigeria. And he would like to invite investors from other countries to the coast and to provide an ecological, wonderful marina. So this is an alternative project, interesting on the ARC strategies. The small thing you saw, I don't know if I have a light, like, oh, okay, this. It's a school. It's a floating school. Auto construction, solar system, recycling of water, built by people there with Dutch architect Annelie. It's a prototype. 1 year ago, for 100 children, it's already 300 children who are passing through this thing. And actually this prototype was thinking to multiply and to replace the existing slum system with auto-construction and social network. I'm working now on a similar system in Cotonou, in Benin, with productive gardens, floating, communitary floating gardens. Second, you very quickly see how and which are the utopic one and which are the non-utopic one. This one is not a real one. The wall strategy. The wall is never high enough. We saw that even in Amsterdam, even in your wonderful country, they start to be a little bit afraid about the water sea level, even if you have 100 years in advance thinking what could happen. It's never high enough. So now the wall is changing of morphologies. That's interesting. It's not anymore only a dam, but it's vertical cities with vertical or hybrid or underground agriculture with subway inside it. This is in Ayutthaya, the historic capital of Thailand, who lives with water since the 14th century. And actually a few years ago, a huge flooding enters in the city and destroys a lot of things. So Super Bowl Reservoir is a project for a new kind of agriculture, for a new kind of economy, based on this huge amount of water kept in tank cities, in a way. In Constitution in Chile, it's 300 kilometers from Santiago. In 2010, they had an earthquake and a tsunami, and part of the city disappeared. So they have a plan to rebuild the city. And the plan, for instance, one of the things, it's to think that the first shield could be dunes with forest. It's not a wall, it's dune with forest. Okay, anyway. Third strategy, the sponge. The sponge will absorb and regulate the water slowly. The project of Rio Madrid starts in 2007 and transforms 700, more or less, 1,000 kilometers square of abandoned area along the river. It becomes public spaces and the backbone, that's important, the backbone of the future city. It's not only a linear park, it's the backbones for the future city extension. It starts with 340 million euro to remove 43 kilometers of highway and put it under the ground. In Seattle, it's the Alaska's door. The Seattle city seeks to return the city on its bay and to face the Pacific Ocean. This is Elliott Bay, an ex-industrial harbor, who present now in process public gardens and a park system, a landscape urbanism, absorbing water dynamics and showing how the water could scenery in this strongness. In Copenhagen, after the huge rains they hit 4 years ago, they worked on a strategic map for the city to planify more than 30 kilometers square of tank parks, of tank streets, of tank boulevard to absorb the future storm events. So it's a kind of green infrastructure inventing new kind of urban typologies. It's not anymore a street, it's a tank street. It's not anymore a boulevard, it's a promenade, but who absorb like a sponge. You understand. Fourth strategy, the level one. You live on wood sticks or you live on an island and the hills are surrounded by water rising. The interesting thing It's, for instance, in the tropical area, because when you go up, you could create microclimate, and you could work with this new kind of climate project. This is in Saigon, the Tutiem area, 640 hectares in a flooded territory by the Saigon River, just facing the Ho Chi Minh Historical Center. It will become an ecological and economic area based on flooded meadows, resilient hills, and a new topography to avoid the water. In Taichung, an ancient airport area, they build a new park, or they start to build a new park. The tropical climate. It's interesting to understand what means the tropical climate in Taichung. It's 80% of air humidity and rains period, very strong. They find a solution here against this warming effect created by a certain kind of vegetation and the topography who create highlands. 80% of the park could be flooded, and there are highlands with a path, and on each of these islands there are a microclimate who could resist to this illness. In Singapore, the water is in the hand of one man and one company, a big company, Chinese company. I don't know if you understand what that means. All the water in Singapore in the hand of one company, a private company. Water go out of the city, water came in the city, water you drink, water you grow away. Okay, so this company, because we have to be a little bit positive also, this company provides public spaces, and they work on a network of public tank parks. This is one of them, with the same strategy of topography things. It's called the Bishan Park, and when they build it, they calculate for the extension and the densification of the neighborhood with the rainwater to absorb 40% more of the rainwater and the events with the river flooding. Last strategy, ramification, division strategy, reduce the power of dynamic of water in multiple new harms. It's in Angers, in France. They reconquest the river bench, and they reshape the river bench. It's not only flooding, you see the two pictures before and after. It's not only flooding our meadows, for instance, but it's also shaping highlands and new harms to slow down the river forces. In Taiwan, the Aogu Park at the estuary of the Beigang River, it's a very important place, spots for birds each year. It's 150 hectares of land, wind on water for agriculture, but actually the problem is that agriculture is pumping the water in there and it's sinking like in India. And so today they have a huge problem with this. So they decide to create a park, a project against the typhoon, against the polluted area with the water, but with this strategy of divided places. We are in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabian Saudi, I don't know, what do you call that in English? Arabie Saoudite. 5 million people who live there. And the Wadi Adifa is a fertile land situated at the door of the biggest sand landscape in the world. It ends in the neighborhood of this huge city, before an industrial area, and today more and more a residential area. When flood is coming, polluted area gains the residential area, so it's not possible. So they do a project, and they do a project of filter, but also of public spaces, of public park. kept the water from those residential area, reducing the flooding system, you understand, and using the vegetation, the local vegetation. And that was a fight with the authorities, because in the script you have to use vegetations bling bling. I don't know if you understand this word. I mean, vegetations like in Palazzo, okay? Very prestigious one. So, I mean, palm trees with golden boxes. And the landscapers and the officers are fighting to say that, okay, you have a wonderful local vegetation. We take just the seeds, we make them then grow, and we use it, and it reduces the price. Okay, that's go it. So the price argument is a good one. Just another word about this place, because it's interesting. You have to know that in this country, they don't have leisure center. They don't have a cinema, they don't have a theater, they don't have things like that. They have what? They have a mall, commercial center. That's the place where the leisure is, more or less. So when they decide to do that, it's a kind of poker game, because they don't know if people are going there or not. And they start to build something first where the family could be without being seen by the other one. And it's 2 years ago, something like that. And now the woman starts to take off the scarves over there. It's a big success, also social success, and changing the way of living in Riyadh city. So I would like to end on 3 of my projects. Combining those strategies. I choose utopic project express for you, because I think you need those also to dream. Because if you don't dream, I don't know who will dream for tomorrow. So you have a heavy thing on your shoulder. This picture is in Manhattan when Sandy is coming. I love the Sandy name. Notice that it's always very wonderful women, and it's Sandy and then Katrina, and sometimes it's a guy, but it's not stronger, it's just, okay, anyway, it's nature after the Gaia theory. So when Sandy is coming on Manhattan and on the East Coast, it provokes, some problem. And one of the problem is not only flooding, but also electrical problem, social problem, economical problem. So it's a kind of chain react. You have to know that I show you on the Pacific this Taeho-ji belt in Japan, but you have more or less the same in United States with this Boswatch city. The Boswatch city starts in Boston and ends in Washington. In the middle you have New York. A geograph reveals that in the 60s, and now it's coming. All the cities are touching each other and create a urban arc of more than 1,200 kilometers wide. 52 million of inhabitants today. So a little bit 20% of all the US people. In 2050, they think that they will have 71 million inhabitants. So the project, a little bit ambitious, the project is a park system, is to think about something who could recreate at the geographic scale a new landscape of an archipelago. Okay, archipel. You understand? Really? Okay. An archipel, a landscape archipel with 4 different types of islands, create with sedimentation along the river, create with oyster texture like you saw probably in the MoMA museum, create with a lot of different way, a natural way to provide those islands. And to create a park system, but not at the scale of New York or not at the scale of Washington, but at the scale of Boswatch. So a new backbones to develop the city along this, and to provide or to offer a new kind of resilience on the East Coast. I'm waiting for Will Smith shooting the lions. No, but beside that, you can imagine biodiversity tanks. You can imagine new economy system with fish farming. You can imagine new kind of agriculture. You can imagine new leisure center. Okay. Second one. We almost there. That's a few years ago. It's in Fukushima. I think you all see the pictures. You probably switch off now because time's coming. Something else appears. But the problem of this earthquake in Tohoku was not only the earthquake, not only the tsunami, but also the radioactivity of the central in Fukushima. We know that in few weeks, few months, few years, it will be in Tokyo or in Osaka. It's going in this direction, the subduction system. And so for Tokyo, we are waiting for a 30 high meter wave, 100 kilometers high velocity. It's very strong. And an earthquake about 9 magnitude, 9.0. So how a resilient landscape could be for Tokyo, not only to be a shield, but also to be a possibility of extend the city or live differently. And so this project was in blue. In blue over there, you have a scheme of the fragilities. Tokyo Bay, Tokyo is there, Chiba, Yokohama. The strong blue or the electric blue are the polders. You know that they have a very geometrical coast because they build all those polders for industrial area. This is the first hit polders. Then the city on 10 kilometers wide, and then these arms are growing through the river and going on the city. So today Tokyo is prevented with the paraseismic building, more or less. Not all the city, but a lot of city. The little children learn how to do when tsunami or when earthquake is coming, much more than us. But again, a tsunami, it's not ready. So the question was how we can do that, what we could propose. The first proposal is, this line is actually the tangential, the ring Straße, the ring road. Today, less cars because they build a undersea tunnel. But the undersea tunnel is high, expensive, so the cars still running on this. But imagine low price or free. We take this road and we transform it not in a highway, but partly on highway and partly on a promenade, landscape promenade, sponge system. You absorb water from the city and you create a first barrier, first shield. Second thing, you take all the polders one by one because the industry and the harbor with the new economy is changing. First. Second thing, the object of desire, nature, is more and more strong. The city of Tokyo gain this polder for the next Olympic Games and transform it. Tadawando is making a forest over there on this small spot. Okay, with the last earthquake in Fukushima, there is a physics phenomenon. It's called liquefaction of the soil. It means it's shaking, the water is coming, the sand is melting, and the polders are living, more or less. So all those polders are in danger now. They reveal that all this part is already doomed, in a way. So why not take those and transform them into public spaces, fish forest, new kind of ecological agriculture, and link them to a park system of tank park system along the river. And then, third step, is to transform all the bay in a kind of hybrid mangrove, reversing the biodiversity there. Oops. Against warming in the city, more biodiversity, a new kind of economy, a new kind of link to the nature or from the nature to the city. And maybe new air shuttle, why not? To reach one point for another, turning the city on the bay, not by building a shield, even if I like Captain America, but not by building a shield, but by building a new kind of landscape. Oh, I'm sorry, it was very funny and no. The other thing, and I will end on this. When the nuclear problem in Fukushima appears, there are a lot of consequences. And so I saw this wonderful documentary. I really ask that you look at that on YouTube. It's from Arte. It's what after 2 years in Fukushima, what happens. And actually they start to rebuild. They start to live again in those contaminated area. They start to fish, to take fish again. And you can see people who said, no, but it's just you turn the earth on 30 centimeters, and when you place the geyser on it, it's not anymore, it's not too radioactive anymore. 20 centimeters, yes, but you put it in the soil, in the water, and all over. And there is this terrible thing that a woman said. She said that she asked to their children, don't have kids, because you're doomed. Okay, anyway, so contaminated area. What could we do with this area? Because the people who live there actually lives from a kind of economy, based on agriculture and fish farming. So what we could do with those areas? And so there's this very simple project. In blue, you see the white spot, it's Fukushima. And in blue is the trace, the print of the radioactive earth, ground, soils, measure on 1 meter high. Today, so after a few years, you cannot eat something from there. It's completely contaminated. But you see this strange shape because there is a hill, there is a mountain, there is a forest, there is something, there is some obstacles who create this cartography, a radioactive cartography. And so I start by this radioactive cartography, and I propose to do on this new cartography, new limit system, a kind of memorial park, but based on energetic transition, means wind farms, but a new generation, I will tell you, wind farms, and along the river, the same kind of merges or hybrid mangrove I developed on Tokyo. But the important thing here is this memorial park. Actually, it's a forest. I call it the Black Tides Forest. In California today, in Caltech, you know Caltech probably, it's the laboratory of engineering in California. they are working on a new kind of wind farming. It's a vertical one, 10 meters high, and you place very close to each other. And actually, they based on this. They observe this. They observe the fish vortex in those kind of formation. The fish vortex in those kind of formation means that the second fish will follow the first one with less strength, or less, because the first one is like when you drive beside a huge truck on the highway. Okay, the fish the same. And so they work on this, and they provide a vertical engine on a grid of 5 on 5 meters, so different. It's 10 times more efficient than our wind engine for now, but it's experimental. But we are in a utopia, so we could hope that they win with this system. And so the project is to use this energy and this new grid to create a grid 5 on 5 on 10 meters high of those kind of new forests. It's the same forestry grid. And following the spots are the wind turbine engine, and following the river, following the valley, working with the forests already there, and creating a new kind of hybrid forest on this huge area. This is 40 kilometers. Yep. You don't see very well because it's not dark enough, if I say. But the idea is, okay, that's maybe one solution for using this earth differently, because the lands could be rented by the owners, the agriculture, for placing those sticks like we do in our countries. But you place more sticks and it creates a new kind of landscapes. Okay, so I think I've done anyway. If you have questions, and if not, thank you.